This is Dream Chasers, episode 41, with Dan Lesniak. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dream Chasers, we interview individuals with supernatural amounts of potential based on early success in their careers. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by Dan Lesniak. Dan is the host of the HyperFast Agent podcast, which he actually does with his wife, Carrie Shull. She's also, I guess, the host or co-host. Didn't really think about that until now when we're introducing you. But Dan is originally from Boca Raton, Florida. He went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and then he also did some postgraduate studies at the University of Maryland in Georgetown. So very DMV-oriented guy, lives in Arlington, Virginia, in the borough of Clarendon. Dan, thank you for being on the show. And do you have any opening remarks for our listeners?
Thanks for having me, Adam. I'm super excited to be here today and to chat with you, get in front of your listeners. It's been fun, real fun, a ride the last couple months, starting up HyperFast Agent platform and the podcast, which we just launched. So the reason behind it, Carrie and I have sold a couple $1 billion of real estate. We've trained a lot of agents on our team here in Arlington, and they serve all over the DMV area. And we wanted to do something to go beyond helping agents on our team and the ones that we directly touched. So we started the HyperFast Agent platform. It really kind of took birth about 2 years ago when I wrote my book, The Hyperlocal HyperFast Real Estate Agent. And the book did really well and kept selling every month, and it really surprised me and how much it was selling on Amazon and Audible. And I thought, how can we do even more? Because people like what we put out there, and that really just scratched the surface. It really just talked about my first year in real estate, not everything that's transpired since then, everything that I've done with Carrie. So we decided to take it to the next level. We kicked it off last year by doing a big local event where we had brought out Grant Cardone, we brought out Billie Jean, and then we decided to keep it going with our coaching products as well as the podcast, which everyone can see or see on YouTube and listen to on any of the podcast platforms. So it's been a great start so far. Gary V was the first episode, then Grant Cardone. We've had Billie Jean on there, and we've interviewed a bunch of real estate agents, business leaders, marketing guys. So it's exciting to take our experiences plus what other people have to offer and put that out in a platform that so many other people can listen to and learn from. Yeah,
I agree. And it's been fun to watch you guys grow and watch you guys launch this podcast. I know we've been connected on LinkedIn for some time now, and I see your posts now daily, what it seems like, and updates with HyperFast Agent. And it's not easy getting a podcast started, to say the least. You really got to have a plan and execute it and get your brand out there. And it's definitely fun to watch you guys and see what you're doing. And then like you just mentioned, having Gary V and Grant Cardone as some of the first two people on your show is already a pretty remarkable accomplishment.
Yeah, it was, and that really wasn't, it just kind of happened. I mean, we were meeting with Gary V, and the original meeting with him morphed into something that was different. It was supposed to be a dinner with like 8 people, and they kind of screwed up the scheduling. So we ended up getting just him for a private interview in a hotel lobby before he had to go to the airport. So Carrie and I whipped out our iPhones and recorded the whole thing from multiple different angles. And then later on, we turned that into the first podcast for HyperFast Agent.
I love it.
And we got some really great advice. The cool thing is, like, we implemented his advice, and this was back in August. So it was a while ago. We implemented it, and it worked. It really helped grow our agents, grow our business. And we actually saw him again at his conference, and we got to chat with him for a few moments, and he recalled the meeting and gave us some more feedback and congratulated us on actually implementing it, because he said a lot of people, he says that 1 million times basically, and very few people actually go out and do it, which is probably true of any coaching or program or strategy that's out there. It's all about the implementation and execution.
Right. And so for you, from a learning perspective, I'm just curious, hosting those guys on your show, what major takeaways did you get from having high profile guests? What do you feel like you learned simply by just having them on your show?
Yeah, well, it does a couple things. Like one, when you get near people like that, proximity to people like that are performing at such a high level, it brings it takes them off the pedestal a little bit, right? So then it makes it more real for you. So I think it rewires your brain a little bit and makes your brain think like, hey, I can do this too, or why can't I, get just as big as them or do more business or whatever. So I think it kind of resets your thermostat, makes you push harder, charge harder. So it definitely does that for you. It also gets you, advice that you wouldn't get from anyone else. Like a big theme I take away from Grant and Gary, and they both have things about them that are different, and they both have some things that are similar. And one thing that's definitely similar is the amount of content that they put out. Like they put out a ton of, podcasts, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, emails, just a ton. And it's a lot different than when I first got into the business. There would be all this advice out there from people, giving it to people in general, but also specifically to real estate agents. And the advice typically was don't overpost, don't email too much. Mm-hmm. And I've never heard those words from a major player like Grant or Gary, who's made it big. Like they do the exact opposite. And, if you're putting out interesting stuff, I think it's fine, So I think the advice should be don't overpost boring crap, but if you have good stuff, put it out as much as humanly possible. Yeah,
that's a good point. And I think it highlights the power of making impressions and, kind of just consistently getting your brand out there. I look at you, for example, what I've seen you be able to do on social media, and how anytime I pull up my feed, normally your name is in there. And, some people might get caught up in, I only got 2 likes or 3 likes or whatever on this one. But at the end of the day, it's still making a huge impression that the blind eye probably can't see. And when you're consistently doing that, it's kind of like, well, would you rather have one post for example, 1,000 likes, or would you rather have 1,000 posts with 10 likes each? You're making a larger impression, and I guess you want to make sure you're always providing good value, good content, as you mentioned, but consistently pushing some form of text, some form of video, email, social media, like having that daily pulse goes so far.
Yeah, and it's all short-lived. So it's like, don't worry if someone doesn't like it, or if the feedback's not as good, or maybe it wasn't even that great of a post. But if you wait for the perfect one, you'll never make it, and B, you're not going to get good enough, right? So repetition is and frequency is the surest way to get good at something. So if you're putting out a lot of stuff, posting a lot, you're going to get better at it. That's one thing. And the second thing is that they're short-lived. Like there's a chart somewhere I've seen before. It kind of ranks all the different various social medias and the average lifespan of them. So in other words, like how long they're in someone's feed, or how long they would get attention. And it starts off with like Twitter's the shortest. It's like at 12 minutes or something. It's very, very small. So if you're on Twitter, you got to do it all the time. And then, Facebook's a few hours, LinkedIn's a little bit long, or Instagram's a little bit longer. I think LinkedIn's like 24 hours. YouTube's a couple of days, and a good blog can be like a year or two, but right. So yeah. All those other ones, other than a blog, they're very, very short lived. So if it sucks, it's not the end of the world. Like people are on to the, what the cat video is doing, or, complaining about politics or something else on social media. So like, they're not going to sit and hover on and just obsess about how bad you were.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really valid point. All right, Dan, well, we are going to step into the next level chamber now. When did you realize that HyperFast Agent was something that you wanted to take to the next level?
It's been kind of on the back burner, I'd say, ever since I did the book, or just after the first initial reactions to the book. really last summer. So June, July of 2018 is when we really started to take what was just kind of thoughts and ideas and start to put pen to paper. And there were a couple trials and errors on how we launched it first. It took a few months, but it started to pick up steam. And then a couple months in, we decided to do the event with Grant Cardone. And, I kind of knew at that point that it would grow into something pretty big, and it did.
Yeah.
It's fun.
One thing that ran through my head earlier just came back to me. Podcasting has, in a way, become what we would consider the modern day business card. So, for example, having those powerful conversations with Grant or Gary, or I would say, even you and I connecting right now, I'm sure, you're a nice guy. You probably take my call any day, but like for us to be able to connect right now and share information and do it in this manner, I heard someone, and I guess I'm kind of taking this from another interview that I've heard, but someone had an interview with Robert Kiyosaki. And he's like, you know what, if I didn't have a podcast, there's no way I'd be able to sit down for a half hour, an hour with Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and ever allow him to accept me into his calendar.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because you're getting them in front of all of their your listeners and vice versa. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone involved. And yeah, I do see it as an enhancement to business cards or Rolodex from before then even, and a way in to influencers, because you can offer them something like exposure to your audience, and it's permanent. It's up there, and people go back, listen to old episodes.
Yeah. So what would you say are some, because you're relatively new in the industry, so I feel like this would be a good question for you too. What have been some of the downsides to being in this industry, and then so far, what have the positives been?
Sure. So just being in the podcasting industry, yeah, we're still new to it. Man, it's hard for me to think of downsides other than there's work involved, but it's kind of fun. Like, I like talking to people. There's people that I wouldn't normally reach out to and talk to for an hour and learn about their business and learn about how they're selling real estate, what they're doing. And then it's just cool because then that conversation gets broadcast to other people who can then learn from it. And, it expands both of our influences, the people that were on it. So to me, it's just super fun from that point of view. It has a ton of benefits in helping the interviewer, the guests, their audiences. The downside I would say is the work, but I like it. So,
right. So hey, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I would do these all day long.
Nice. One thing that ran through my head as well, I know you mentioned you have a team of, I think you said 42 agents working with you. What if someone listening right now is curious and they want to get their career started in real estate? Maybe they want to be a realtor. Maybe someone listening is in the DMV. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just want to work with you. They like Dan. Are you guys hiring? Are you looking to connect with anyone to grow your business? Yeah,
right now we're hiring real estate agents. We're hiring all positions really. So buyer's agents, listing agents, inside sales agents, which is they're a part of our phone calling team, marketing people, basically, anyone that wants to work hard, do a good job for our clients, collaborate with the rest of our team, create value for others. Those are the types of people we're looking for, really in all roles.
Nice. And we'll circle back to your contact information at the end of the interview, but would the best way for them to reach out would be to email you, or can they go to a website? What does that look like?
Sure. Probably just connect on social media really is the kind of quickest and easiest way. So it's, I think on most of the social media platforms, my handle is the Dan Lesniak. So that's a good way on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, or you can look me up on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I guess you are more millennial than I thought.
Yeah, I guess right on the border, 1980. So either way.
Yep.
But I've learned to, there's a lot of people out there that I think complain about millennials or say it's hard to hire, and I think they're wrong. I think if you think that and say that, then that's what you're going to find. But
Right.
right. Cause that's what you're telling your mind to look
Mm-hmm.
for. So I, maybe years ago I might've been caught up in that. I'm certainly not anymore. Our team is mostly, millennials, people in their mid 20s and they're all fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see the podcast and your personal business too? Where do you see that in 3 years?
Yeah, so I think they're going to both grow together. HyperFast Agent started to grow last fall. We put a lot of money into the launch of it, into doing the event with Grant Cardone, and we didn't necessarily see the ROI on it if you looked at it in the micro, right? Just like how did HyperFast Agent do? But when you look at what it did for the kind of the personal brands for Carrie and myself, and raising awareness for the team locally, our real estate team, and helping with recruiting and getting more clients, it's been amazing. We grew almost 50% from 17 to 18. I think we're gonna do even more this year. Our goal is 1,000 transactions and 600 million in sales, which would put us in the top 10, maybe top 5 in the country. So within 3 years, we want to be the number 1 real estate team in the country, in the world probably. And we want HyperFast Agent to have, several thousand members in our inner circle, which is our coaching, our baseline kind of entry-level coaching program. And, we think both of them growing together will help each other. Like it's kind of 2 parts of the same system almost.
Yeah. And out of your team, when I ask you, who really comes to mind with members of your team that are going above and beyond and that you can really see, wow, like they have a bright future with us and simply for their careers. I guess this is a shout out moment. Is there anyone that comes to mind for you?
Oh,
I know you want to say everyone.
I know. I guess I got to go by numbers. So on our buy side, it would be Amy Harris. She's done about 40 million each year for the last 2 years, and we're only 2 months into this year, and she's already got 17 deals ratified or closed. So
wow.
If Carrie and I weren't a team and you broke her out, she would be the top agent in Arlington, which is crazy to think that that's like residing in a team. And then we've on our listing side, we've got another agent who's his goal is to do 100 listings this year. I think he's up to like 15 or 16 that are ratified or closed, and he's got probably 20 or so kind of signed or in the pipeline already. Richard Yoon, so he's been crushing it. He joined us last June and he's doing amazing this year.
Cool. Yeah, good to hear about some other dream chasers, maybe some potential fits to come join us in the future as well.
Yeah, they'd both be good guests to have on.
All right, so we're getting ready to wrap this thing up here, Dan, but I do have some fun questions here to close this one out and for everyone to feel like they kind of got to know you a little bit more today. So the first one was, what was the make and model of your first car? Second one, your favorite city in the U.S. And I should say it can't be Arlington or DC because I think for marketing purposes, you have to say that. So we're going to say your favorite city outside of where you live now. And the last one is, I guess, another one that's really going to maybe put you on ice, but your favorite client that you ever had as a realtor.
Sure. So my first car that I think was like truly kind of mine in high school was a Ford Thunderbird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty notable car.
The favorite city, I'm going to go with an island. I'm going to go with Maui. I love Maui. It doesn't really matter what city on Maui.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong there. There's never a bad time to be there. And then last one, what was his favorite client? And I'm sure I can't say all of them, right?
Right. Everyone, just note, everyone listening, that you were Dan's favorite client. Maybe if he doesn't say your name, it's okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Ryan. Do you need last names or first names or just?
Is Ryan gonna hear it?
Yeah, he might. Yeah. Well, he'll know, Ryan. So he's an orthopedic surgeon. So if you need help in Fair Oaks area, Ryan Miyamoto is the guy to see. But he was a client with me, one of my first, or at least within the first few months. So So his story is in my book, or part of it, because I mostly focused on my first year in real estate. Mm-hmm. And how I went from $0 to $22 million in volume in my first year. So Ryan was a client then. He's been a repeat client. He's been a referral. Referred us a lot of people as well. He's invested with us because we do investment deals, development deals, all sorts of different kinds, like where we'll help a builder tear down an old house in Arlington and build a new one, and sometimes do subdivisions. We've even done a land development deal in PG County, and so we always look for that kind of stuff and let investors participate and take positions in it. So Ryan and a bunch of his colleagues have invested in several successful projects with us. So he's been a client in multiple different ways, and referred us people in multiple different ways. So I'll give him the props.
There you go, Ryan. Dan, so we talked about it earlier. Best way to get in touch with you after listening to this interview is going to be through social media?
Yeah, social media. The handle is the Dan Lesniak. If you want to learn more about our team and working for us, you can go to CarrieSchollCareers.com. You can look us up there. It's the Carrie Scholl team, my wife's career page. So that's a good spot too. Or just look me up on social media.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll get all that in the show notes. So, Dan, thank you once again for joining us. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it as well.
All right. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.